And now, the award-winning Simply Youth Ministry podcast with Doug Fields and friends.
Hey!
Unbelievable.
Hey everybody, Doug Fields here with Josh and Jana and
friends.
Matthew.
Okay,
Magill.
Back in black.
Have we told the okay story here?
I don't know that it's really a story. Although someone was just looking at my license the other day thinking it was the funniest thing.
Okay, here's the story.
Further
Matt
affirming
does
why
not
they-
have a middle name. Jana, yours is what?
Christina.
Christina? Josh?
Peter Griffin. I know. It was
Really?
I thought your middle name was Faux Hawk.
Bringing the faux hawk back. Guys got a
Hey,
haircut.
everybody, if you're watching, would you just give Josh a little salute?
Eddie
here?
Soldier.
Josh is waiting
Never
until
seen a
next
better-
Friday until he feels comfortable
Better
with his hair.
body
Next
double
Friday,
for
as we
He's
get
like
ready-
walking
Gomer
around
Pyle.
telling people, next Friday I'll like
Next
my hair.
Friday, this hair is going to be awesome.
Is there a story behind that?
No, just
Because I saw you this weekend and I said, ooh,
Yeah,
haircut.
it was shorter this weekend too. No, the lady who does
I
my
gotta
hair
bring that one
normally
back.
does a very fine job,
Yeah.
and she was talking a lot and not paying attention, and I was like, okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Oh, so
yes.
your kids didn't do it?
Wow.
Jana.
Wow.
Nice.
Come on, this was an
First
$8
time
haircut.
funny.
$8. That's
Come on.
exactly right.
$8. It's expensive.
Where?
No.
Where?
Cost cutters thing.
Costco?
Yeah.
Costco.
The
Gallon
hair
pickles.
cutter.
Anyway,
Yeah,
Matt
so-
has.
And you
We got
picked
you guys.
one,
We got
huh?
so much to do. Andy sent around a nasty email
Based on his
Yes.
haunches.
saying that we have to do a shorter podcast,
Gomer
45 minutes,
Body
not an
double.
hour.
Ridiculous.
Not an hour. So he said it's going to make for a better podcast.
He's all, I listen
And-
to
and
so
I'm-
many
and I'm
podcasts.
thinking-
1,000. He
And
said,
I'm thinking-
actually.
This one would be
Wait,
better.
And
It
how many
became
award-winning ones has he listened to? Because
This is
this
Yeah,
is our
why
third
would you
show
touch our
since
magic,
we've had
Brazel?
an award-winning.
Now, it's
Yeah,
always
wait a
the
minute.
man tries to come in and control the creatives.
Exactly. It's the corporate giants.
The
who
man.
watch
Control the creatives. That's good.
That's what
okay, so
Brazel
Matt,
is.
you-
Wait, so what's the okay
you have
story?
so my middle name is Montgomery,
Okay.
which Douglas Montgomery
What was
feels.
yours again?
Christina.
Christina.
Peter.
Fun.
Yeah.
Peter
Peter.
Montgomery.
All right, and Matt's is
I don't have one,
Well, it
but
says okay.
it says on okay on my driver's license because on my birth certificate everything's all typed in like they do on birth certificates, except for my middle name. It just has handwritten in O and K, just like it's okay that it's blank, or I don't know what they
Okay,
do.
that he doesn't have a middle name.
Yeah, and so I just thought it would be funny. I had to get my driver's license renewed, and so I took my birth certificate and said, "Hey, they didn't get my middle name on here. It's okay." And the guy's like, "What?" You know, and I showed him my thing. He's like, "Oh, okay." You know, I go exactly.
Oh, okay.
And then he added it in.
but it's okay, not OKAY.
It's just the letters O.
Wait, so you
K.
that is officially your middle name?
Well,
then?
according to the DMV, but
Okay.
How awesome is that?
Do you have your driver's license right now?
Okay.
None of
Yeah.
it, even your
Very
kids don't
cool.
have middle names, though.
no, because I just figured if I got mad, I'd invent plenty of middle names.
There you go.
Most of them
Hey,
with 4 letters.
Andy, how was that in terms of the length of a story? Were we okay with that?
Yeah. Did you
Be
approve?
okay?
Did you
We have
approve
about
of
a
that?
minute of banter left.
Oh, okay, because he
banter?
did say 5 minutes of banter.
I've seen it.
Did you know that?
so funny.
5 minutes of banter, Josh.
I'm bantering with this okay on,
Uh-huh.
on McGill's license.
5 minutes of
This is
banter.
my,
Can we scan this?
Time to move on.
And
It's
Sensei.
Don't put his number on there, though.
Sorry,
oh yeah, we shouldn't put his home address on there. See if someone could
my
GPS
number.
I think we should scan this driver's license.
it. Just for the
That's
picture
it's a
alone?
classic picture.
It is a great picture.
Okay, so we can
We
banter
don't need
for
to do it
5.
now.
What's the finale? She can have it done.
Okay, but take
Andy,
all his
don't
home
miss
information now.
anything. Sit down.
Yeah.
This is
I don't
why.
care if people know where my home
This
is.
is why Natalie can't be on the show because
You
she has
can't-
to be busy
She's
scanning
scanning.
stuff
Right
for
this
the show.
instant.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not
Hurry.
going to get posted for like 3
Natalie,
days.
Natalie, come on in here for a
Come
second.
here.
Natalie, put
the
Doug's
show.
address on there.
Come in and say hi.
Look at how cute she is. She is so heavily
Oh,
Two
no.
pregnant
This is my
ladies,
favorite
one of them's
part.
Oh,
Brazel.
ladies and gentlemen, look
Look
I
at that.
tried to put a Band-Aid over it today, and it just drew more attention.
Really?
You need duct
Band-Aid
tape.
on the belly button?
Yeah.
Really?
That's
Well,
fantastic.
Do a little profile. And look at, you are significantly pregnant. It's awesome.
5 weeks to go, right?
But
Now, when you say
So
profile,
cool.
what are you referring to? Her old style profile or a regular profile? Because remember when she had some inappropriate profiles? at
That's
the beginning
true.
of the-
Episode 7.
No.
Is that a profile, though?
That's a profile.
It was.
I don't know. You
Not-
just, as a pregnant woman, you pregnant
Oh,
women are just
probably
so
does.
darn cute.
Yeah.
But anyway,
It was your backside.
Andy,
Backside.
and we
That's
just
what it
thought
was.
this was funny. This moment that, you know,
Yeah.
we said we don't have to do it now during the show, and he said, "Oh, Natalie can do it. She's busy working." We just thought, "Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that was."
so we
that
thought
was
we'd
it.
interrupt your
We just
busy
thought
Oh,
That's
perfect.
she's busy working.
But what
Anyway.
can you do right now?
Nothing. We just
Scan.
want you to say hi, and
Oh,
you're gonna
hi.
scan the
Baby update.
Yep,
Baby update.
Natalie.
Have you landed on a name?
Emily.
Emily.
And
And
what's
for
the
those
middle
of you
name?
who are
Emily.
new watchers or
Noel.
listening to the podcast, you would go and see Natalie on episode 1 through
42.
50.
50.
Wow. Yeah. Then she got fired for Jana.
Yeah.
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 Thanks,
Oh,
Andy.
God.
So
I'll
we
give it
wonder,
back
really,
anytime.
really,
Yeah, Doug's decision.
I wonder if when we won the award for the best podcast, if that was pre-Natalie or
Do
post-Natalie.
you know what?
Oh.
People write in. I'm curious.
Okay.
Yeah, let's find out. Wait, should we look at Jana's profile too?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I'm
no.
competing
Should
with
Jana
No,
has
it's
a
okay.
profile as well. Do we want to?
Right.
No.
I'm good. You
I think you guys should fight.
so,
All right.
All the pregnant
While
ladies.
pregnant.
Cage match.
with
Anyway,
just our belly.
Here is
Andy's giving us a signal. Too much banter.
yeah.
It's
Too
time,
much
Time to
dude,
get it.
okay.
Time to get it.
All right.
Okay.
Good
Thank you,
visit.
Natalie.
Oh,
Thanks.
boundaries on the banter.
Yeah.
Hey, here's what I would like, because I actually
What would
did.
you like, Doug?
Well, I
Tell
did
us.
send Andy an email, and I said, Andy, based on what? What facts do you have that we need to do a shorter podcast? And he wrote back and said, just my hunch. And I don't.
Well, and then you wrote back and say, prove it to me.
Yeah, prove it. So
Which was one of the more ridiculous things I've ever heard.
Which is why it was really fun.
Because the definition of a
I see.
hunch is that it can't be proven.
Strategy.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point, Matt. No, I was before he said hunch.
You were pre-proving.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I would like to know from our 6 listeners that are left if they would send to podcast@simpleyouthministry.com.
Or they can call our new phone number.
Well,
Oh,
that's not
way
a
to
bad
go, Matt.
idea. Nice.
Oh, Matt can talk a little bit longer now because he just won points
Yep.
with Andy.
Matt got some chips right
So
there.
podcast at
I'm always looking for
simpleyouthministry.com.
permission.
Let us know.
Okay.
Is
Or-
60 minutes what we've been doing the last 20 shows or so? Is that
50
too
shows.
long?
Yeah.
We should flash this up on the screen, by the way.
Okay, well, as soon as this is done, we leave. So
I know, but they could
that's
just
fine.
do text.
We
real
do
quick.
have a new podcast number, 949 area code 243-0571, and Andy helping us become
It's
even
too
better
cheap
than an
to do an
award.
800 number.
Be better than an award-winning show. Andy's trying to change the show up. He's the producer. He's like Gelman.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, he's the man.
What's the name of that show? Kelly and
Regis.
Regis and Kelly.
Yeah.
What's funny is that you know his
Yeah,
name.
you know
Yeah.
Gelman.
Gelman.
Who's Letterman's producer? Go. Ooh.
Paul
Oh.
Schaefer.
Wow.
No.
I don't know. I honestly
It's
don't
a
remember
woman.
this moment. Yeah, but I forget her name.
Tina Fey, maybe.
No.
Tina Fey.
949-243-0571. And Andy, what's the idea with this phone
Yeah,
number
what are we
since we
supposed to
really
We
didn't
just
talk about
would
it?
love, instead of sending an email, maybe send an audio question, send an audio comment.
An audio question. And
Kind
who's
of like
gonna
back
prep
with that I had set up
Chris
way
will prep.
before.
Oh, Chris will prep that.
So like when you're
Okay.
driving in the car and you hear something, you could just call in instead
Yes.
of going home and writing.
Program it into your phone.
I'm not sure that was
Brother.
approved or not.
Oh.
All right.
Mine is
This
Doug
is
Fields.
from Ben George.
What would you like, by the
So
way?
wait, what are they supposed to call in? 60 minutes or 45 minutes?
Yeah, just
Or
give us
3 minutes?
Is Andy right?
Have they already turned the show off 8 minutes in? Or
Well, we shouldn't have said who suggested the time limit.
No, it's
because
not.
now
It's
people
not
are
a
gonna-
personality thing. It's do they
Well,
want
People
long?
love Brazel
Okay.
because he's the
This-
definition of an underdog.
Here's the deal.
Andy
Here's the
versus
deal.
Doug
Let
is
me-
what this is
no,
right
no,
now.
no. Here's
Oh,
here's
yeah.
the deal. When I watch The Office,
Yes.
I'm mad when it's done. I want it to go longer. On my treadmill this morning, I watched Reno 911,
Which is hilarious, by the
Which is a
way.
And
great
I
I can't believe
admission.
you're admitting that.
and
you're
I'm
watching it.
mad. I'm mad that it's over so quick.
It's such a great show.
So, and there's been other ones like
never
that
seen
that
it.
24 minutes or something like that. I'm like,
Seinfeld.
Cloverfield.
yeah, I haven't seen it.
Wish it was over sooner.
Oh,
I can't.
Stop,
He just
stop.
makes me mad.
Come on. So
I
here's
never
the deal.
even
It's
saw
not
it. It
an
was just
Andy
a
versus
get.
Doug.
That was a
it is podcast the second series of award winning. Do we take it to the next level by going
Or-
shorter and having a
Oh,
lame
holy.
phone call? Or look, now he's flashing the fact that the thing's already been
Don't
scanned
put
and
his license number out there.
You gotta blur
Oh,
out his,
yeah,
his
license
driver's
number.
driver's
bad.
license number. That's
I
why
thought you were
Natalie's
talking
not
about
on the show.
address.
Look how much work she gets done.
So our show is as good as The Office or Reno 911.
No, that's not my point. My point is
Yes.
some people. My point is.
I think we should record these shows for an hour and then halfway through
it off.
arbitrarily cut it off.
and
so
then
you'll
we
get,
do it every other week instead of every week.
Or we just do it every week and maybe we post 2 podcasts a week. I don't know.
Or maybe
Ooh.
one podcast is for the general public And the second one is for Andy's Simply
Simply
Access.
Simply
All right.
access exclusive.
This is Ben George,
Oh, my.
Doug and Friends. I just listened to 65 and wondered whether you put anything into your written materials for mission trips that allows you to break the iPods if and when you find them.
Oh.
Remember
We've
last
never
week?
broken an iPod though.
I know.
That
Last
was too
week we talked
expensive.
about establishing rules and boundaries, and we pushed people to read that chapter on discipline and
Yeah.
PDYM. But that was the thing, is we when you broke,
It was literally a cassette player.
yeah.
Was it like a Walkman?
It was literally a Walkman.
But we do tell people ahead of time that if you bring those things and they're found, they'll be taken away from you. And at that point,
Yeah.
if they're lost or stolen, we don't claim
Yeah, it's
any
not our fault.
responsibility.
We have
for it.
collected them and lost them before, Magill.
Whatever
Yeah, but
happened
we
to
Why are
that
you
have
pointing to
also,
me?
we've
Sorry.
also collected them before, and then kids forget to
Yes.
pick them up.
Which
So it's
is
a great way to get the
awesome.
newest technology. If you're the
But
YouTuber.
anytime we do it, we take a piece of tape and write the name on it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it doesn't mean we remember
Yeah,
where we
you've
put 'em.
also lost the box before.
I have never lost the box.
This is from Sean
Jamie
Penrose.
and J-Lo once lost a box.
Here we
All right,
go.
inside stuff.
Sean.
All right, here we
Sean
go.
Penrose.
Hey, Sean.
From Woodland, Derby Friends Church.
Oh, when you said
Don't
Sean,
use my name. Just kidding.
Doug and Friends, first, thanks for all the laughs and info, blah, blah. I need some input. Our ministry has recently
High
been...
Definition Teen Ministries, by the way.
HDTM?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Highly
Next
defined.
generation of screens.
Oh,
right there.
higher definitions. It's not
definitions.
even high.
Okay.
Okay.
Here we go.
Let him finish.
You've kind of gone back to the last couple weeks.
I tried holding it in. My mouth was closed.
I have a sermon illustration this weekend about you and your nasty feet, by the way.
He's
Fantastic.
Fred
Yeah.
Flintstone.
Okay, high def.
What's wrong with
email.
my
Here
feet?
we go.
Thanks for... I need some input. Our ministry has recently been growing,
Yay.
and we are attracting new and unchurched students. This is great. We're excited. The issue is that since we have started bring some new students in. Gotta make it a rule to have somebody.
English check these?
Yeah.
But that's all right. Either that
Well,
or I
you were
ought to
supposed to
read
prep
'em.
these, right?
Yeah, I did prep it.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
What's the
meaning that I've
question
read
then?
it. They've got some people that have stated that they're either bisexual or homosexual. Do you have any suggestions on how to minister to these students in an effective way?
That's a good question.
I was waiting to see if any are going to take it.
Well,
Take
it's
a first
interesting.
crack on
I
that.
was reading the book Unchristian this week. I got it as a gift from one of my good friends, and a
Douglas
large
Montgomery Fields.
And one of the things that one of the large portions of the book is dedicated to the way Christians deal with homosexuals and so on. So I would recommend that resource as what not to do, and they actually give some good instructions on what to do as well.
What do they say?
I'm actually in the middle of that chapter, so I don't honestly know. But I'm surprised at the amount of the significance of that issue in the Christian world.
Yeah.
So this is a good email because it's legitimate and one that we're all going to face more and more in the coming months and years.
Well, big picture, you're loving that person.
absolutely.
In crazy ways, showering them with love. I would encourage you, if you haven't already, find some people in your church, if somebody or someone in your church who has struggled in that area of sexual identity. Like we've
had,
I don't want to mention names right now, but we've got people at our church who have come forward and said, I used to
Sure.
struggle with that. I'd be happy to talk with some people
And
about
they've
that.
shared their testimony on our.
Share their testimony,
Weekend
so we open it
services.
up in front of all of our students, and we're not afraid to talk about it.
Yep.
Assign them with a mentor. But part of it is, I've got a bunch of questions like this, and sometimes this one doesn't. But some of the ways that they've been written about, homosexuality, it is. We are so in the church. We are so quick to want to change somebody's lifestyle before their heart issue has been addressed.
Yeah.
And I think it's crazy for us in the church to think that we're going to change somebody's lifestyle until something has happened with there's been some transformation of their heart, some experience with Jesus. And so I would say to Sean, let's love these kids into the kingdom, and then let's, in loving, caring ways, begin to talk to them about their sexual identity, the choices they're making, aligning them with people who have struggled, not pretending that you know what they're going through because you probably don't. What else?
I think that's it. I think that anytime you could reduce the legalism and the judgmentalism, just being so judgmental on someone's lifestyle. I mean, on anything. I mean, I think if it's the kid who's totally socially awkward, or the kid who did drugs and did whatever. I mean, there's lots of different things, and there's lots of different stigmas. Obviously, this is a big one and a hot one, writing books on it and everything like that. But
well, I kind of feel like when you say big one and hot one, I feel like it has been one in the last few years. Like, I feel like at 9/11, all of a sudden, you had this open to eternity. More people were interested in God and salvation. What does that mean? And life after death.
Right.
And then I feel like it's kind of switched a little bit into, alternative lifestyles, exploration, and almost, I've had kids, well, I'm bi, things like that. Like, that's going to shock me. I've never heard that one before. And in some ways, it's just kind of testing the waters with how you're going to respond to that.
Sure.
And I think we just got to know that because it is talked about so much more in our culture, on TV, votes going about gay marriages, that we got to talk about it in the church.
Yeah.
all right, I think it opens a discussion to, assuming that you've taken the time to be loving and earn the right to be heard and all that stuff. But I think it's a great door to open a discussion of, so how do you know what's right? How do you base, how do you know when true is true? And is it just something that you think? Is it something that you feel? Is it something that you feel like you learned, you want to do it? I mean, I think it's a great discussion of truth. It doesn't have to be about a person's sexuality, not that you're going to dodge that issue, but you could take that great places. You can make it so it doesn't have to be just about sexuality, because there's a deeper issue. Deeper issue is, are my passions and desires and wants, and what I've learned is, am I the center of truth, or am I not the center of truth? I think that's a bigger issue. Obviously, if you deal with it in just a classroom fashion, that's not what I'm talking about either. So.
Yeah. Well, and I think we have found in the last 3 weeks in our high school ministry, we've been doing this series called Scarred, and Scarred, it's our Life Hurts, God Heals program that is a Simply
You're
Youth
calling
ministry.
it Scarred now, or just the series?
The series
Just the
that we
series.
did, yeah.
It was what we make available at Simply. It's our Life Hurts, God Heals stuff. We were just doing a 3-week series and then pushing them into small groups with it. And the amazing thing is, when we know this, but as soon as you start talking about pain, and they say, kids go, "Oh, okay, our leaders aren't afraid of it. They're not surprised by it.
Right.
They're not going to be. They have their own story, their own pain." It just created this environment where that's all. It feels like that's everything we've been dealing with the last few weeks.
Absolutely. When we started talking about it, it came out everywhere in small groups and on the weekend, and students were incredibly honest and open. Like, I wouldn't say we were shocked by any of it, but there was a lot of reaction. I mean, students really started to talk about what's really happening. And the biggest surprise for me was how well the students disguised all the pain and hurt. I mean, we have the perfect, good, great-looking students, successful, happy, and when we started filling out these little blue cards saying, "What is your scar?" we had hundreds of them. That's just really interesting to me. Students look great on the outside, but they're dealing with so much. I mean, this being one of them.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, and one of the funny expectations that we have is that our non-Christian students that are attracted to our program, or that are seeking Jesus and the church, we expect them to act like Christians and to live like Christians. And
that's stupid.
And it really is a false reality. We try to have these kids fake it, and they need to just be real and
Kind of like
messy.
we wanted to sing a bunch of songs on the weekend.
Yeah, just like that. But it's their heart that Jesus has to invade before we can ever begin to look at.
Well, and to create an environment where they feel safe. So the fact that Sean has somebody in their group who feels safe enough to say that to him is an affirmation to him as a leader, to even write in about the question, because I would much rather them talking about it in a safe, loving environment. I've been doing this read through the Bible in a year thing that I fail at every year, and I'm been.
Seventh hill with the third ram. Sorry.
You get to Leviticus, you're 50 chapters behind, you just give up.
I'm actually pretty far behind, but this is my year, man.
This
my,
is not your year.
Yeah, it is. I'm gonna.
Brazel, you appreciated that.
Andy would love us to talk about the 1 Minute Bible.
Why
A
don't
good
we
friend of
just
ours
give-
wrote it.
No, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it this
Just
year.
1 minute.
Why don't we just give him a taste?
And nothing from Leviticus.
Anyway, it's funny
I'm
that
sorry.
as I've been reading in the New Testament, the first 3 chapters of Matthew, that
I think that's get right there on it.
now, in the New Living Translation, notorious sinners is
Yeah.
used a ton. I like that. And Jesus, whether it be Zacchaeus,
Oh gosh.
whether it be Zacchaeus or I feel like I've seen it 3 or 4 times just in the last couple weeks. That if that is the same, be interesting if what the translation of what that Greek word was that comes out notorious, because it's used several times in the New Living Translation. But I think about Jesus was not afraid of hanging with them, spending time with them.
Maybe somebody could look that up on the podcast and email us.
Yeah.
Or call it in, maybe.
I'm more concerned about them giving us feedback of whether they want a shorter show like Andy does.
I'm interested in the Greek.
So this
Alright,
could be
okay.
the end of our show. That's just an example. This could be one length. Goodbye, everybody.
22 minutes, done.
Done.
You give us 22 minutes, we give you the world.
KFWB News 90.
They don't use that as their tagline anymore, do they?
I don't know.
You're just an iPod
Brazel,
generation.
All right. This is, please don't use my name. I've been at the church
he didn't even
for-
give us her name.
Yeah, it's up here.
Oh.
Please don't use my name. I've been at the church for 1.5 years now. It's my first full-time position.
I know who you are.
I'm feeling completely empty in this position. I've discovered as time has progressed that my personality does not really fit in my church. As far as my personal style,
Personality?
the style of the church, even the philosophy of ministry seems to differ from that of the church as a whole. How do I know if it's appropriate for me to move on? If I'm just struggling with ministry or if I just need something different? So, guy's been there 1.5 years, first position, and
First full time, right?
first full time. He
Well-
says I've had a part-time team experience.
Well, it's not personality. Let's cross that. That's just he miswrote there.
Right.
Not because it's not your personality. It's not a fit. It's your leadership style. It's your values. It's your.
Heart, passion, desire.
I mean, you're not having a personality conflict with the entire church. That's
Right.
actually a false.
But don't you think 1.5 years
Plus you're
in
antisocial.
is about the time when it starts to really hit? Like you're past the honeymoon phase, you get past your first year, and then you get into a couple of conflicts and people. I mean, to me, 1.5 years in could be a time when you're going to be really
What are
challenged.
you laughing
No,
at?
you have a smirk on your face as you're listening to him.
I have a smirk on my face.
Yeah, you do.
That's funny because I think my smirk is. I was in the back of my mind was going. The church sucks sometimes. It really does. It just sucks.
I've been saying that forever, and you always criticize me.
Well, it's because you used to work for me. I didn't want you to think that.
But now all bets are off.
Now that you're not on my team anymore, you can think what you want.
No, but don't you think 1.5 years in is when it starts?
You know what? I just think
even
it's
a little
hard.
earlier?
I just think the job of youth ministry and expectations and all that goes with it. I just think it's a very difficult. It's a difficult job, and it burns people out. And churches hire youth workers and let them loose on their own, and they don't give them guidance or mentoring. They only talk to them and come down on them when they're frustrated. And, our
Does
brother
it
here
wrong.
just seems like, maybe he's hit that. He's struggling, But for me, what I wrote down when I read, I just wrote down here, let's go to a principle, because it's hard for us to tell whether this guy should stay or leave
Yeah,
based on the
you
paragraph.
should go.
But here's the principle that I think that
And
all
by
of
the way,
us.
we keep saying he and guy. It could be female.
No,
Yeah.
it's. I see the name right here. That's
Well,
pretty
we're
much.
not
But
supposed
as
to
we
let 'em know.
apply,
Yeah.
it.
Oh,
it'll
yeah.
be the-
Because of our millions and millions of listeners, one of them
And our
might be
3
the church.
females.
Well,
Or this-
Janet, if you're not carrying your load, come on.
Hey,
If
can
you
we get
can't
Nat-
draw the female listener.
Natalie.
At what point will she be carrying her load?
So here's the principle I think that we say to everybody is
Slacker.
you've got to find a neutral, safe friend who is outside the church, who doesn't have ties to the church, isn't invested in the church, that you can throw some of these things at, some of these feelings. Like next Wednesday I have breakfast with Jim Burns. Jim is that person to me. He doesn't go to our church. He was my youth pastor. He knows all my strengths. He knows all my weaknesses. He's got a long history with me.
He gave us these microphones.
Did he
And
give
by
us these
gave,
microphones?
mean we bought.
Well, we bought them. He gave them to us after we gave him money.
Yeah. It wasn't him. It was his people. If it was Jim, he would have given them.
Yeah.
But he runs a nonprofit. He's got to be careful. Anyway, but for me, here's a guy I can say anything to him,
Right.
and there's no, there's no kickback at my church where I'm going to get busted for something. It's just safe. And I would say to this guy, you got to find somebody who, or all of us that are listening, who's somebody who I'm safe, isn't going to.
Who isn't your spouse?
It's somebody who can be neutral and help you see the forest from the trees and make decisions. And
He's strong enough to stand up to you and say, you're being
yeah,
weak right now, or why are you having a
Yeah.
pity party for yourself? Yeah.
yeah.
But I think it's hard. I mean, finding that friend is hard. That's not just. I mean, that takes some work to do and to identify and.
Not for you, though.
Well, do you think that's where a resource like the purpose-driven community or other
Yeah.
resources like that, where you can find a guy or a lady in a
Yeah,
state
but
away even? Or,
But if they're
or-
in a similar situation, I think it could become a pity party. I think having a different stage of life is a key.
an older,
key
wiser
aspect.
mentor person.
Well, let's
But
just
some-
say,
I mean, that-
ideally,
that-
somebody that's done life with you for a long time. That would be
Knows
if we're
you.
going to live in the ideal.
That's true.
Then if
Yeah.
you can't find
Okay.
that person, I mean, still you got to have somebody that
Right.
you can talk to. As I was coming up to the office, Jack was saying, "Hey, there's youth workers trying to get a hold of you," and he's got this question, and I'm saying, "Jack, my staff right now can't even get a hold of me." When that happens, send somebody to a PDYM mentor.
Right.
To
Right.
talk to somebody. But I just feel for a guy like this. I go, he's probably alone.
Why doesn't that guy write the podcast? Person who's trying to get a hold of you.
I don't know. Maybe he doesn't know we have a podcast. Just because it's award-winning, Matt, doesn't mean everybody listens to
I
it.
just think
Tell your
Jack would have a
friends.
little bit more lateral vision.
www.simplypodcast.com.
Maybe he just
true.
wants to talk to Doug and not to Doug's friends.
Well, that proves how dumb that person is.
Speak
why.
of the
'Cause
wisdom
he hasn't
they've been
listened to the
missing.
podcast. Anyway,
Anyway, so
Well, a significant thing to use as you examine this, examine yourself. How long have you been bummed? I mean, if you've been bummed the whole year and a half, that's pretty significant. And when you compare this experience with other things in your life, like, are you a person that's typically frustrated in the situation that you're in? Have you always been an outsider or an outcast? If that's true, then no matter what changes you make, you probably will be in the next situation also, in which case moving does you no good whatsoever. You just have to figure out what it is about you that you need to change, or be unhappy the rest of your life. That's cool too.
don't you think this is also the point though, where when someone joins a church and they come on staff, whatever, they think they can change it, and they think they can breathe the life into the dead, and they feel like they can do it, and a year and a half in, they're going, wow. I'm
yeah,
not
but you
able
don't
to
know
do
how
this.
horrible a situation is typically. I mean, you're going into it, you're like excited,
True.
pumped.
But you know the weaknesses, but they don't feel so big when you first come on
Yeah.
staff, and then you're like, wow, there was more here than I ever knew, and I bit off more than I can chew. It's easier for me to run when maybe God's put you right there for that moment to help that church and to heal that church, and maybe you're supposed to feel this way right now because you're about to turn a corner, and if you leave, you got to stay.
well, and that's why it's so hard to do that in isolation.
Absolutely.
Because you're in pain. You can't wait for that clock to strike 5 or whatever it is. You're counting down.
Right.
You're
Hoping the pastor calls in
Yeah,
sick.
you're playing
Yeah.
video games. You're blogging all day like you do. and,
It's
And-
true.
Oh, as far as my personal style. You forgot
but
those
it's
words,
so
as
hard to
far
do that
as.
in isolation.
That's the point. You got it.
I think there's an aspect of ministry that is untrainable. The whole idea of it being so relational, because it just takes you through seasons of highs and lows. That is, you just don't expect going into ministry.
Yeah.
I think somehow in the workplace that is different, but because ministry is so relational,
Yeah.
it really is seasons of highs and lows. I mean, just yesterday, a good friend of Josh and I was sharing
Right.
just how, this guy's been in ministry for 10 years,
Yeah,
11 years
long
now,
time.
and was saying, at least twice a week I wake up and go, is this what I should be doing? Should I be doing this? Am I called
Who's
to this
that?
still?
It doesn't matter.
No
Sure it
names.
does.
He's good. He's called, and he still questions his call every day. I mean,
Yeah.
a couple times a week.
Did
that's
this
a big
person speak at
admission.
an intern meeting?
He was awesome.
Yeah. Okay. But let
Let it be written.
no. But he's not in isolation.
No.
Number one, so he's got people that he can process with. What I love that you said is that I do think there is a piece of ministry that is untrainable. How do you train somebody and prepare somebody for the emotions that you go through in ministry?
War.
Iraq, and then youth ministry.
I mean,
Is that
no,
it?
it's
World
live and
War
learn.
II?
It is totally
one of
live
those.
and learn.
There is so much of that you go, man, I didn't see that coming, and that person, I thought they were so nice, and but when I first
I
read
like
this,
these tough business guys that come in. I mean, that's they're. I mean, it's totally its own different thing.
you mean the tough business guys that you're speaking in code, because I know what you mean. But
We
Tough
have
business
some
guys
people
that-
in our church who have business experience and have come to us later in their career life.
Right, tough business guys come in.
Yeah.
And what's your point?
Well, and they think that they're prepared and ready for it, but they're not. I got a great line the other day that I share off the line.
Okay, but with this guy right here, part of this is there's another principle too, and the principle, as I was reading this, I was going, there is a piece of homework that happens prior to you saying yes to something that I don't know what he's done, because he's saying
What's
I'm
the
a
expectations
year and a
of him?
half and I don't fit church's style, leadership, philosophy, and part of me is going, okay, so has everything changed in a year and a half, or did you not do your homework going into this?
Right.
And know that. And
Well, and the first one's really tough. When he says, I'm feeling really empty, I mean, that to me, it's really important to know how long you've been feeling like that. Because sometimes that just happens.
And wouldn't you say don't trust
Sometimes-
your feelings, though?
That's well, it depends on how long it's been, really, But I mean, I would say, yeah. I mean, there are times when you're going to be totally down and you're feeling like you're not getting the high,
Yeah.
you're not getting the encouragement that comes from changing lives, and that's part of the dark night of the soul. It happens as an individual. If you've been a believer for more than a year or 2 years, you all of a sudden your faith just dries up, and you have to go through that somehow. I think the same thing is true with ministry, and so
Yeah.
so there is that it's a wall that you have to bust through. But then these other things about philosophy and his style and things like that, if you're contrary to the church, then you should move on.
well,
I mean,
first 2 years of youth ministry, the last chapter, I forget what it is, it has a bunch of questions that you ought to ask your church before you go there.
Previous to-
Oh, and I've got a bunch of those questions too.
And
Yeah,
those,
those
those are probably better.
Oh well, yeah.
McGill wrote a ton of good questions. Yeah, where did those ever end up?
They were on a blog, and I removed them, but I just found them when I was going through all my old files the other night.
Super, because those
Oh,
are
not
great
your book of
questions of what to
questions is
ask.
what I
Okay,
thought
so
you
what does a person
Like,
do
wow.
who's listening who doesn't have that safe, neutral friend?
I think you're gonna have to
Chat room.
YahooAnswers.com.
No, but I do think that PDYM community mentors are a good place to start,
DearBloggery.net.
and it also has a little bit of information on how long they've been in ministry, and
Totally.
maybe you could even to contact Neely,
Okay, Jen,
Yeah.
would you look at this next question? What does it say?
PDYM mentor.
PDYM
think
mentor.
we
Let's
would've
make
planned
this
this.
transition here.
There we go.
This is from Dan
Okay,
Gould.
so if you don't
Plano,
have
Texas.
anybody,
Hi,
too
Dan.
bad.
Yeah.
No,
sorry.
this is it. This is
Here's
part of
the
the
answer. Here we
connection.
go.
That's why it's a transition.
Oh, you're truly transitioning.
Yeah, yeah.
It's more of a segue, actually.
All right, just so you know, at this point, the show would be over if Andy had his way.
No, Andy, we got 10 minutes left. Podcast 65. You had a guy who was 29 and no ministry experience. He asked about internships. My first reaction is where he was located. This is Dan, one of our PDY mentors, saying
Yay,
I could
mentor.
be. And he says, not intended to be read during the podcast, just an idea that might be helpful.
So we're
if
breaking
you-
his wishes.
If you go to pdymcommunity.com, you can find a bunch of mentors that
In your state.
in your state and say, hey, I listen to the podcast, and
We
they're-
wanna connect.
They're
Or-
talking about you and how can you help me? Can you listen? Can we get together?
Or email Neely at purposedriven.com and tell her a little bit of your situation, and she will match you with somebody who
Yeah.
she thinks might be a good.
That'd
Well,
be good.
and some of our mentors are great too. Like they're willing to even discuss philosophy and training and bounce ideas off and grab lunch. I mean, they're committed to this too. This isn't like
Yep.
just email. It could be much more than that.
Okay, I'm
Maybe you
focused.
could talk to
Sorry.
another pastor in your area.
No, that's not a good idea. Okay, we have two.
What do we have?
One more
We
podcast.
or just
Here we
you?
go.
No, one more podcast before we're in
Keep
Cincinnati.
talking like that. It's just going to be you.
It's going to be Doug Fields and...
Which I won't be at because I will be in
What?
Hawaii.
Oh, you're not here next week?
No.
Oh,
Unbelievable.
when do you leave?
We
Sunday
could
morning.
Skype her in.
No, we cannot.
Yes, we can.
That's awesome.
You can call our new podcast number.
Oh, man.
924-321-71.
I'll leave you a
Where's your
comment.
commitment?
All right, so Jana won't be here next week, but we have one podcast
I called it
before
on my honeymoon.
before Cincinnati where we're going to do a live podcast. But we need to
We're
know
only
at
gonna do one
podcast.
podcast.
Maybe we'll do two. We'll do podcast at simplyyouthministry.com. You tell us because we're going to end at 45 minutes, which means we got 9 minutes left.
No,
We're
we're
gonna
not going to do that
no,
today.
No, we aren't going to do that today. We're going to end it.
Okay.
45
All right.
because that's the show our producer wants. And since we're also well paid from him,
He won't even buy us lunch.
Well, Josh is.
Josh isn't paid to do the podcast.
To do the podcast, I am.
You are
You guys
not.
don't get a check?
Shut up.
No, I don't either.
Oh, I thought Josh was.
You did not.
You did.
You're right. I'm just trying to stir up controversy.
All right.
Imagine
So
that.
anyway, if you've been listening, you know there is a video deal going on to go on YouTube and vote
Okay.
about who's going to sit with us or who could potentially sit with us in Cincinnati.
All right.
And we were just been killing Jason Underwood's logic
Yeah.
of all this. But he writes, Dear Doug and friends, fearing defeat at the hands of my own flawed eBay logic, I ask you this. Are you still considering doing the podcast before an audience? I remember some discussion, please don't make me find it
What?
again, about where the podcast would be done. If it ends up that I can't be on the show, I hope at least to watch. So he's kind of given in to defeat a little bit.
Oh,
right.
you can
Mentally
see.
weak.
Everybody knows that live events are much better, and an unedited Matt Magill just shouldn't be missed.
Oh, I've got one thing I
golly.
gotta not say.
One thing?
We've
Well-
only edited 2 shows. haven't
That's
we?
not
Wait.
bad out of 66.
Do we have mics that have a pause button so we don't pick up your burps?
Regardless of how things
I-
pan
I
out,
wish I
you
had
know what?
one of those.
I'll go on record ahead of time. I don't think Matt's going to be as good.
Live.
He'll be
Live.
intimidated by the 4 people in the
Yeah,
audience.
I
He'll
don't-
get the dimple.
Oh,
He'll
don't-
get
Oh,
the
You're
dimple.
trying to say that
Matt,
just
okay,
to reverse
McGill.
that.
No, I'm
Be
not. I
okay.
can
Now-
no,
oh.
dude. I would be much
Just
happier.
because that one guy was in the room once,
It threw
You
you off.
panicked
there
a
was
little
one
bit.
It was a
lurker in
total
here.
B minus.
That's all right.
Look, Atlas
right.
can only carry
So-
it so many times.
See the dimple?
Yeah, oh,
It's
yeah.
coming already.
That's
It's
a good
starting,
line.
right? It's
That
a
was
little.
good
It's a
line.
little cheek.
He
dimple.
says, regardless of how things pan out, I've had a blast bantering back and forth. I'll be in Ohio no matter what. And Doug, you have absolutely nothing to worry about. Remember I said I was a little scared of him?
Yeah.
Um,
He's a little stalker.
you and your team. No, I wasn't stalker. He just seemed a little mean.
How far was
Yeah.
Ohio
Thought he might
away
be
from
Sarah
where
You
we
and your
would be at
team
Cincinnati?
are far too important to us fledgling youth ministers to
We
even
are.
consider bringing you
Cincinnati's
bodily
in
harm.
Ohio. Never mind.
You
Wait,
guys
wait,
are the
wait.
best. It'd be nice if we.
I'm sorry.
Wait, can
Fledgling
we
what?
please just repeat what Matt just said in the middle of you asking the question?
I'm sorry.
What did you say?
I said, how far away is Cincinnati from Ohio? I wasn't thinking
Oh
that
my
all through.
goodness.
I am a picture perfect Southern Californian.
Yeah.
And what that means,
Picture perfect, yeah.
Yeah.
geography
Until they see
doesn't
your
matter to me.
Driver's
So-
license
Okay.
picture.
Put
Here you
him
go.
out on
Hey,
the
hey,
beach.
hey, I got 6 minutes left. Here you go.
Look
I'm
at that,
sorry.
reeling it
I
in.
was just me and Brazel were having a conversation.
I know.
These
I
guys.
know.
All
You
right,
know
there's a
what?
fledgling
Don't tack your time
world
onto
out.
my. I got a lot of
Okay.
questions to go through. So anyway, Jason,
Why are we
about
still talking
4
about
days
Jason?
ago, I went on to see what the vote was, and it was like 36 people voted for David, the other guy, and
Yeah.
2 for Jason. You know
Uh-huh.
who the 2 were? Me and Andy.
That
It
is
had not
funny.
gone up at all. But I called Andy on the way over here and I said, hey, print me the latest. 725 votes,
That's amazing.
Unbelievable.
49% for Jason Underwood, 51% for David Morris.
Are we
And
declaring a
only
winner?
about 5
No.
of them
We
listen
gotta-
to the
This is
podcast. 'cause
Clinton
the rest of them
Obama
are
right
just
here.
their
Hey,
friends.
what
Dead
happened
heat.
with Clinton and Obama?
Next
Tied.
week. Next week. This
It's
is.
tied.
And I'm going to the
Wait,
ear.
the tap went to the flick,
The
and now
tap,
it's
the
like
flick,
the
yeah.
ear.
Ear
pull?
rub.
It's about to go to the pilot
It's
G2
gonna get
pin
up
into your
He's about to
cranium.
get a stake in the neck.
Okay.
So, Andy, how can they keep voting? We want to carry
It's
this.
still on episode 65's page.
Episode
Oh.
65. Can we move it on to this one as well?
Can we move
Okay.
it on to the homepage of simplyouthministry.com?
That's not big.
All right. Hi, Doug
There's a dimple,
and
too.
friends. My name is Rob Coleman. I'm a 45-year-old truck driver in Chicago.
Nice.
Married with a family. Several years ago, I started junior high ministry at my church, Windy City. It's a church of 150 to 200 people. We cannot afford a youth pastor. The junior high ministry is about 40 to 50
That's
students.
incredible.
That is incredible.
That's awesome. So it's 25%. Mostly unchurched. I've gotten a lot of encouragement from reading your books and from the podcast. After reading, sometimes I get discouraged about the amount of time I can't put into the ministry. I've always wanted to go to the National Youth Ministry Conference, but worried that after putting in the time and money, I would come away discouraged hearing all the great youth ideas and only a full-time person could do.
Oh, no.
Is the conference a place for a lay leader with a heart for youth?
Well, even if you're full-time, you come back with too many ideas to apply.
Yeah.
So that logic is nice, but fallible.
Okay, but it's fallible, but here's the deal. Let's send this guy for free. Andy, 45-year-old truck driver for Chicago. He's a truck driver.
Can you say Chicago normally?
Chicago. I got my
No, leave it in, leave it in. Oh, clear brakes.
I got my
In
Dude, you're
line.
getting better with that.
No,
Put it
felt
on
like-
Josh's face.
Oh, look.
I'll eat it. I'll put it in my mouth. I'm a
Um,
youth pastor. I'll do whatever.
crazy
Hey, can we also
youth
give him
pastor.
simply access?
Wow.
No, okay, so if he gets
But
there,
that's why I
Andy-
asked my question. I got a buddy who can't afford it this year.
If you ran the show, you could. Can this guy can go if he can get there. We'll get him
He's
free.
a truck driver. Of course he can get there.
Okay. Josh,
Pick up some freight.
Okay. Got
all
it.
right. I got to tell you something about that.
Okay.
About your initials.
I know, I'm like, JG, what did I do? I didn't
Frank
get the neck
Holmes.
rub- neck
Recently,
rub.
I've been updating my iPod with the past blah 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 blah. Listened to episode 8, a classic. Right from the get-go, the show got off to
8?
Josh's "Let's crack that nut" comment. As so many have almost done before me, I nearly went off the road in laughter. There have been tons of great moments and laughs on the show, but that by far is the greatest.
After
I
8
agree.
episodes, he could say what's the
Episode
greatest.
7 was awesome. Episode 8, priceless.
Okay, Jana. This one starts off with Jana.
Jana.
Oh.
And
Jana,
friends.
Josh,
Jana.
Matt, and Doug. I'm a volunteer youth coordinator for a small youth ministry, approximately 20 students in middle school and high school combined, and have led the program for the past few years. There are 3 other volunteers in the ministry, all of whom are older than me. I'm 27 years old. From time to time, I have a hard time leading some of these volunteers because it seems like they're very willing to take advantage of me, presumably because of my age. For example, while planning an upcoming event, I asked a leader if she would take responsibility for organizing a portion of it. She said she would. Then today she called me and asked if I'd be willing to do some of the work I asked her to do. For some reason, perhaps because I was unable to say no, I said I'll take care of it, albeit with a sigh and a hint of disappointment. She later called me
that's
back
a good hint.
and said she'd take care of it. How can I get my other volunteers to
Weak.
respect me regardless of our age differences?
By speaking up and not. Oh.
She took the
Let me
hint.
finish the question, then kill away if you'd like. And take responsibility for the things I've asked them to. Or do you think it's more likely that they don't take responsibility for these things because they know I have a hard time saying no?
Yeah. So it has nothing to do with his age. It's because he has a hard time saying no.
Here's the
And he's
deal. You gave her the
codependent,
leadership,
indirect.
and she delegated.
Back to
Back
you.
To you.
Yeah, Josh loves that
That's
style.
classic.
What do you call
Josh,
that?
seriously.
I call that awesome.
Hints are for charades.
Listen, I wish I could get that done. Why don't you
Okay,
just do
so
it?
what do you're flustered in that?
No, I mean, if someone says they can't do it, I'm not saying that
You were saying it's manipulative.
yeah
to
to
go
have it.
okay, I'll
even
do
to
it.
his language. If he's saying that he hinted at it, then you know he really hinted at it. I mean,
Yeah. Maybe
but
he
let's
was
just
just
take.
admitting that.
Taken advantage of. And
Yeah.
I would challenge that. And do you feel disrespected? Do you don't feel
No,
respected?
he's codependent. That's what it is.
All right. Well, what about for all of
Recovery
us?
groups.
Let's just go to a big picture principle for everybody beyond Tim here.
Don't be lame.
Okay, don't be lame. That's yours.
Communicate clearly.
Well, the other thing is, it doesn't matter your age. All of us have been young in youth ministry. All of us have struggled with that. If you're going to lead, lead. Paul said to Timothy, what?
Drink wine for your stomach.
And let no one despise your youth.
That's true too.
All right.
To Timothy, to
1
young
Timothy
Timothy.
4:12. Let no one despise you. If you're a leader, be a leader. We all have to lead people older than ourselves.
Yeah.
And be willing to build some relationships with these people so they know your heart, because that's really what endears people to you, and you want to do teamwork with those people. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're a doormat, people will walk on you. That's the definition of a
And
doormat.
you know what? Most of us have a hard time saying no. There are some, even though
No
Matt
kidding.
pretends he's really strong.
No, if someone tells me they can't do something, I'll do it. I'll take it back.
I know, but you don't. You
I
probably
don't like
ha-
to hurt people's feelings, though.
Yeah. I mean, you
You
sound
don't?
like a tough guy on the podcast, but
I don't. Not unless someone's a good friend.
Because he
So-
wouldn't be a good friend if you didn't hurt him
Right.
to make him better.
That's the logic.
I think the idea, though, is right. He is trying to give away ownership and trying to use
That's
volunteers, and that is the right principle. So this time it goofed. It's okay.
well, and this time he said what I caught reading it the second time. Then today she called me today.
Yeah, so it's a little fresh.
It's fresh.
Yeah.
You know, so he's
Oh, yeah.
bummed. It's today.
Well, look at you, super sleuth.
Oh, I'm
Sherlock
Nancy
Fields.
Drew.
You know what? CSI Youth Ministry right here.
Oh, man.
So, you know, today it's fresh, frustrating. I'm not respected because
But-
now they're, doing this extra work.
There's a
but-
lot of reasons this could have gone south, though, too. I mean, really, he could have asked a person who it wasn't her skill set for what he asked her to do. It wasn't her talents. It wasn't her gift. She says yes and then goes, "Eek, I'm in over my head. I'm
Yeah.
not qualified to do this. I don't like to do this."
Approach.
It could have, yeah, there's a whole host of reasons that you get the right person with the right heart and you ask the right way and you give it away, but you also coach and train.
Yeah.
Well,
It can be successful. We're on the right path. This one just got messed up.
and not knowing all the details in
Yeah.
this, we could
And do
say,
you really need more than one person to organize something?
well, in
Sorry.
I forgot what I was going to say.
But this is great, though, 'cause it does
We don't know all the
emphasize.
details, is what you were saying.
It emphasizes the need for volunteers. That's what I like about the story is he knows he needs them. This one got messed up, but now he knows he really needs them. He's going to work harder next time. It's going to be fine.
Or this could also be a thing where the emotion dies down. He could say, give her a call afterwards, and he have to let you know that I didn't handle it very well on the phone.
Yeah.
I tried to make you feel guilty on that.
Totally.
But I
It
gotta let
worked.
you know
Blah, blah, blah.
it's frustrating. It's frustrating to me, and
When you say yes and then you say no.
yeah.
So-
and back it up with a significant conversation. But the big picture principle is we all have to lead. Some people are younger than us, but doesn't mean they should respect us if we don't earn that respect with some
No.
relational equity.
It might not be a dropped ball. It could have been a bad pass.
Okay, speaking of drop ball, sorry, we'd love to answer more, but we can't. It's 40. We're now at 48 minutes. Sorry, Andy, 3 minutes over.
Oh, people stopped listening 3 minutes ago.
You know what? Send in whether you like a 45-minute show
Where are you
or you're.
looking?
I'm looking at the camera.
Andy /
Or
Andy.
a 60-minute show like that really is one that won the
Or
awards.
maybe you want an hour and 30-minute show.
yeah,
90
maybe it's a
minute
90-minute
SYM
show.
podcast.
So anyway, just Andy has
I don't
a
even
hunch.
want that.
Andy has
You
a
don't
hunch.
even wanna
you don't
be
even want to
here.
be here. Jan. Andy has
Natalie,
a
get in here.
hunch that it's a 45-minute show. Matt and I,
Have a bunch.
No, Matt doesn't really. Matt, do you have a hunch? You're just
Matt
causing
always said he
trouble.
wanted 2 shows out of 1.
Yeah.
we just need to know what the people want. Okay, we're basically here's
We
what,
a-
here's
we
what
are
Andy the
here to
producer is
serve
saying.
youth
Here's what
workers.
Andy the producer is saying. We've won awards with this show, but let's don't rest on our laurels because nobody likes to
'Cause
sit on their laurels.
Who's going to win next year?
That's right.
We
All right.
are.
So we're done. Podcast at Simply Youth Ministry or 949-243-0571. Vote for Jason or David. Send us some emails. A week from today, the 3 of us boys will be here minus Jana, and we will have the testosterone.